guys, and it is Black History Month in the UK. So, as an extra treat and to honour the heritage that is Black History Month, and we three as a black women in this sport, we are starting a series where we discuss topics that are important and integral to the celebration of Black History Month in the UK.
What is our first topic, AJ?
So the first topic, obviously, we're going to talk about is the integral position of black fans in wrestling media.
Oh, wow.
Let's get into it. You know why? Because black fans are integral.
Black
They
fans
are,
are
of
course.
important.
They mean a lot. They add a lot.
Mhm.
And without us, you lot wouldn't have a lot of things. I
You
can't
wouldn't
lie.
have a lot of things. Like, honestly, how black people portray themselves, like black people, first of all, message directly to black people, we are beautiful people.
Amen.
We deserve the world. We are the trendsetters of the world. We are the mainstream of the world. But sometimes in these kind of spaces and in these kind of in this kind of media, often that does get overlooked. It does get we do get overshined. Like, we don't
There's
get
no-
It's unappreciated.
Yeah, there's no
unappreciated.
doubt that there is a complex relationship between
Mhm.
black wrestling fans, black wrestlers,
Yep.
and the wrestling business
Mhm.
in general and the media in which we consume.
Mhm.
So it's quite interesting overall, just thinking about how integral black fans are to what the business means and how the business is consumed as well. I mean, we can go in talking about celebrities and mainstream in general. I mean, we can start linking on to that. We can talk about how black wrestling fans consume wrestling like no other
Yep.
Mhm.
and stuff, to the point that when you look at sort of what is on our mainstream, you see black celebrities always promoting wrestling. But I would say it's more a focus on their relationship with the wrestlers rather than the wrestling business. But that is the fault of the wrestling business and how they portray black people and stuff. But we consume like wrestling media like no other, and we embody it. I mean, like, how many examples, how many memes?
Bro, the memes are endless.
Endless. The Undertaker.
Yeah.
Undertaker meme.
That child crying, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, what wrestling fans bring to the what black wrestling fans bring to wrestling media is so important, and it's so it is what makes wrestling today, because I see it from a sociological point of view, where I see that I know that how wrestling fans, how black people consume media as a whole is almost like a religion.
Yeah.
So we touched on the topic of how black fans watch football, for example.
Yeah.
Now, in a sociological perspective, football is seen as like a religion. We're chanting, we're praising the teams, we're glorifying the teams, we're opening our eyes, and like sort of we live our lives through the way these teams sort of
We personify it.
Yeah.
exactly. And as black people, obviously, because of so many of the realities of what's going on in the world, we sort of use these things to distract us.
So it's a method of escapism.
Yeah.
It is a method of escapism, and wrestling has always been that method of escapism, and how black fans have been drawn to that escapism. And I think last time when we spoke about how some topics like do touch us, in the sense that when we had Triple H versus Booker T,
Yeah.
that was sort of reality mixing into some of the things that we don't want to see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
But-
even Kofi Kingston versus Brock Lesnar.
Oh,
Another one.
Exactly. But again, how black people view this sort of media is like, when we're growing up, I'm sure that when we're talking to people and they ask us, oh, what team do you support? I answer in the sense that, oh, I don't watch football, but I was raised in an Arsenal house.
Arsenal.
Yes, yeah, same.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like, you couldn't support anybody else. You couldn't support
No.
if you were, the only time that you could support another team is if Tottenham was losing.
Yeah.
Was on the losing end. But I think there's a comparison in terms of like how black fans flock to this kind of escapism, to this glorifyingness. Like, again, when we see particular superstars, we sort of personify them. We sort of live like in their code and stuff like that. And it's just
I like to bring some factual scientific background to this as well from a marketing standpoint, since it is the wrestling business and business is important. But I did some research in general about black sporting fans and how black consumers are a valuable market in the sporting world in general. And this applies to both the UK and the US. But there was a study on behalf of the NYU SPS Preston Robert Tisch Institute for Global Sport, particularly Dr. Brandon Brown, who undertook a regional inclusive study on African American sport consumers, particularly on sport management measures, including sport spectator identification. And he concluded that African Americans completely identified more as sport fans more than any other racial group, which in general is good for business and stuff. And what is also good as this aspect of business, diversifying your fan base is also integral to growing your business. So I find it quite interesting, actually, just sort of going back to being an Arsenal fan. A lot of black families, and there's actually a book coming out. Actually, no, it's come out. There's a book out about this. The reason why Arsenal is very synonymous with black families is because of the representation that Arsenal brought in terms of black players to the team. And when you see that representation, of course you're going to be synonymous with it. And this is also linked as to why black fans are integral. When they see that representation, they personify it, they identify with it. And that's what makes just even thinking about Kofi, I have to go back to Kofi, just thinking about Kofi winning. That was probably for the first time actually a lot of my friends who were stopped watching wrestling, these are black people by the way, suddenly became interested again and started consuming the product again, and it was like the biggest thing ever. You see how Wale Mania is tied to all of this. You see how hip hop is tied to all of this. Being a black fan is integral from a business standpoint to grow as a marketing standpoint and being a consumer. So I think businesses miss out on actually growing their business when they don't consider aspects of intersectionality and aspects of diversity in their brand.
I think that's one thing I wanted to speak on, is the intersectionality of it all. I feel like as black people, as a monolith, we tend to think about intersectionality in all the things that we do.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to wrestling, which is why wrestling crosses over with hip hop.
Yep.
So often, which is why when people make edits on wrestling matches, they are mainly black people who are doing the edits, because you can cross things over in a way that some people don't realize and don't understand. Like, even when we tie anime into wrestling, it's mainly black people speaking on how anime and wrestling coincide and link together. Even when me and AJ talk about how wrestling is intertwined with like Drag Race, it's because we see it from a different angle that no other like collection of fans do, and it's because we realize how important intersectionality is across all types of cultures, mediums, and platforms.
Yeah, no.
And we have that unique perspective to be able to recognize these things, which I think in a space that is so white dominated, it is important that you have these black voices to be able to see that these creative cross cultures, these creative intersectionalities, to be able to open the realm of different media and span out to people. Because as I said at the beginning, black people are the trendsetters.
Yeah.
Amen.
We are the mainstream.
Yeah.
And when we are at the forefront, people are drawn in. You will bring in the numbers, you will bring in the celebrations, you will bring in the culture, and you will, because everybody wants to be like us, man. Come on, we're cool as fuck.
Why appropriate when you can actually just include us?
Exactly.
Why bother?
Exactly that. And on that note,
Peace.
peaceful, food for thought. Thank you very much.
Bye.